And my partner over there is Jenny Drescher. And we're just always delighted to work with the Women's Leadership Collaborative. And Sandra, thank you for making us smile. The picture of your dog is hilarious. And so we're just going to start this meeting the way that we've begun to start all of our meetings, which is to invite you, first of all, to just take your arms and stretch them up over your head and really give your spine a good lengthening, right? We are spending an inordinate amount of time staring at screens, aren't we? You know, you might want to bend back and forth. Maybe put your arms behind your head if you can get them back there. Like really give yourself a good stretch that your body needs. There we go, thank you. And we'll give a little love to our wrists because we're using them on our computers all day long, aren't we? And then switch them around the other way. There we go, and then grab a hand. Pull it gently back. On the other hand, pull it gently back. Beautiful. And put your hands on your laps. Close your eyes gently. Just take a nice deep breath in. Notice the movement of air through your body and into your lungs. Feel your feet making contact with the floor. You're grounded and safe. Breathe in peace and ease, nice deep breath. Hold it at the top. Let go of stress and concern. On the next breath, try and make it a little deeper. Really send that oxygen to your blood. Let it out gently. And on this last deep breath in, think of a place that you love to be. Like thinking of this place just makes you smile. And keep that place in your mind as you let go of your breath. And when you feel comfortable, open your eyes and join us in the room. Thank you. We started instituting what we call arriving in the room for all of our virtual meetings, and we encourage you strongly to take this practice on and share it with the people on your teams. It helps us all think of it. Normally we come into a meeting and like we greet people and we spend a few minutes chatting and we get a cup of coffee and then we settle in, versus this virtual world while people just pop on and we're supposed to start doing things together and we're still dragging all of the energy and what we were doing last into the next meeting. So taking 2 minutes to do what we just did to encourage people to stretch and remember they have a whole body, as well as to remember that they have breath to nourish their bodies is how we like to start. Jenny, you wanna take it away?
Sure, did you have a slide for us?
Oh yeah, thank you. Here we go. So today's, go ahead, you got it, go.
So we are laughing at ourselves because this is how we roll at the Boulder Company. We always find the fun. And so we invite you to take that on with us today because the world is changing fast. Much is afoot. It feels like a seismic shift is occurring every few minutes underneath our feet. So one of our favorite topics around responding to that is developing more resilience, finding the laughter in any little moment, and just adapting and going with things because that's what helps humankind move forward always. I mean, as much as it may feel like there are a lot of things sliding sideways that we understand, if we look at the big picture, these three skills of becoming resilient, adapting, and finding the laughter have actually been mainstays of the entire human race that have continued to serve us well. So we invite you to take this on with us today, that these are learnable skills. So the first thing we invite you to do as just a little icebreakery thing is to find a Post-it note or a piece of paper on your desk. A Post-it note is fine if you have one. And you should be able to put it over your camera lens on your computer. So find your camera lens. Chances are it is at the center top of your screen. that it tends to be where it is most of the time on most computers. And just cover that up real quick. So we're going to do a little exercise, and we're going to, Sandra, are you able to hear me? Okay, I didn't know if you were struggling to find a Post-it. Didn't want to leave you out of our exercise here. Okay. So we're going to do a little exercise called Post-it Peep Show. So Post-it Peep Show is, we're just going to give you some very simple prompts, and if when you hear the prompt it applies to you, you simply remove your Post-it note. So if you are working from home today and lately, let's see who you are. If you're working from home. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a mix of people from working from home, and I think it's fair to say that we may have some folks that are also in their office. And let's also, we're curious to know, we gave you sort of 3 broad topics. If you're here because resilience is an area where you want to grow, like your ability to be resilient, then let's see your face if that's something that's really important to you today. Okay. Yep. Thank you, Makana. I appreciate that. You're reading my mind. I love that. I love that you're reading my mind like that. That's terrific. Thank you. And if you are here because you want to lighten up and find some laughter to put back into your world, let's see if that's you. Oh, I see. We have the winner. We have the winner. Okay. And then if adapting and like finding some skills and some mindset hacks to support you in managing change is really important to you, let's have a look. See who you are. Okay. All right. Great. And then one more. Let's see about this one. For if you have had any kind of pet or child, like a cat or a dog, completely disrupt a meeting by like walking across the screen or barking in a meeting or coming up and asking you for something or like throwing food at your head while you're trying to do your job. Wow, ooh, this is a group that hasn't been interrupted very much. I'm amazed. All right, so for the rest of you that are remaining, are you wearing pants? Made you look, and I love it. The Princess and Sharon are not wearing pants. Yay! Yay! So give yourselves virtual applause, and we can all come back into the room. And that's great. I love that you're all smiling and game to play with us. So you may say, what in the world does that have to do with resilience and adapting? Well, we're gonna table that, and we're just gonna move right into another exercise to help you out here in terms of everything. Do husbands count? Oh yeah, husbands count. I've had my husband interrupt me too, 100%. Yeah. Hi, I'm home. Oh yeah, I know. I'm on a meeting. So we're going to do a hi, Rosie. Welcome to the room. We're happy to have you here. I hope you can join us with your camera today because we're going to be interacting. So we're going to do a very simple round of what we call sound ball. So the way this is going to work is we're going to just play a little simple game of ball, and we are going to have you number yourself as you go. Actually, Ellen and I can tend that for you if you aren't sure how to change your name. So what it'll look like is you can start by unmuting yourselves because everyone's going to be involved in this exercise. And so unless you've got some sort of, lawnmower going on in the background and any other kind of noise that we need to be aware of, then we'll just be content to have people unmuted for now. So Ellen, I'm going to toss you the ball. So the way it's going to look is I'm going to say the person's name, and then I'm going to throw them our sound ball, and they're going to repeat back whatever it was that they heard when they caught. So big wind up here. Zoom, 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 Ellen.
Okay. Johanna. Boop, boop.
Do I change the sound if I want to?
You
You
just
catch it first.
Okay.
Repeat the sound you just heard.
Beep, boop, 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 boop.
There you go. Great. And now you're going to pick somebody else to toss it to, and you're going to make a different sound. When you're going to say who it is, you're going to make a different sound for them to catch and repeat the sound that they just heard you make.
Stephanie?
So you need to throw the ball to her, Johanna, with
Oh,
a
I
sound.
do?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to somebody else. I was playing tag or whatever. All right. All right.
Beautiful. There you go.
Roll my R's.
Perfect. Perfect.
Sharon. Beep, 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 beep.
Teresa. Bloop, 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 bloop.
Kathy, wow.
Wow. Rosie. Woo.
Oh, she's on mute.
Gotta unmute you, Rosie.
Princess, did you go already? Woo!
Woohoo! I love that we've added 2 hands into this. This is awesome.
Boing to Dina. Dina.
Boing. Sandra, did you go?
No.
Choo-choo.
Choo-choo. Oh, I threw it before I said a name. Haley, where are you? There you go, Hales.
What was your sound? Ooh. Is there anyone left?
So you can throw it back to me if you want, Haley, because, oh no, the Makana is still here. So Makana, you can still catch it and make noise, even though we can't see your lovely face.
Okay. What kind of? Wow.
Wow.
Let's see. Jenny.
All right. Give yourselves virtual applause. You made it through round 1. All right. So we're going to do this. Yes, Ellen, what were you going to say?
Can you number yourself 1, Johanna 3, and Haley 12?
So what we're going to do now is we're going to do this as a faster version of ourselves, as a faster version of this, because you all just got the gist of it. And so this time, now that you know what you're doing, you'll notice that everybody's been numbered, which is going to give us the order of how we're going to toss, so we don't have to guess anymore. So that's one thing, is that now you can just toss it to the next person. So we should each be able to see, Johanna, you're number 3. You just need to, yep, there we go, beautiful. So just look for who's there. Rosie, I see your hand waving with a question.
A number? Let's see.
You're number 8. Can you see it on your screen?
Oh, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to do this exact same exercise again, except this time we're going to tell the editors in our heads, the ones that are, the ones that are telling you, I need to come up with a cool sound, or I need to somewhat come up with something original. Anybody have that little conversation going on in your head right now? Like, oh, I can't do that again because somebody already made that sound, or that's not fun enough, or that's not cool enough, or it's not whatever enough. Let's just dismiss that editor and have some fun with the game, because any sound is the right sound. You can't make a wrong sound in this exercise, okay? So we're just going to blurt it out like 5-year-olds, right? Right? Are we ready to like get our 5-year-olds on and blurt just whatever comes to mind? Blah. So I'm going to go with that one. Blah.
Blah. Boo, boo, boo.
Boo, boo, boo. Wow.
Ooh. Kerplunk.
Kerplunk.
Who's 6?
Teresa, that's you.
I'm looking on here. Who's number 5? Who's number 5? I don't have, the screen didn't show me that far down. Karen, what was your sound?
Thanks a lot, Teresa.
That was to Rosie now. There you go.
Moo.
Yay! Give yourselves a round of applause. So let's have a little tiny conversation about this. We could play with this with you all day. So how are you feeling right now compared to sort of the rest of your workday? How's your energy?
Good.
Fantastic.
I'm looking at a lot of smiling faces, right? So we'll notice that it wasn't hard to lighten up, right? Did that take a huge amount of effort? So what did it take? What did it take to just be able to take that on and make something of it that elevated your mood?
We stopped focusing on what we're doing and we just kind of relaxed for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. You gave yourself some permission to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes women really are terrible at that, by the way. It's a thing that we do. Oh, no, I have to be attentive to everything all the time. What else did you have to do? What else did you have to do to make that work and to give yourself that space to just be playful and a little silly even?
Relax a little.
Yep. So you had to decide to relax.
Yeah.
Yep. What made it work in terms of the passing it off from one person to the next? Any thoughts about that?
Thinking too
About what
hard.
made that
Like
work?
I said, thinking too hard about what sound I should make.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a way to virtually connect a little more personally, even if it's just making funny sounds to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were practicing a couple of different principles there that we borrow directly from the world of improvisation, because we use a lot of improvisation in our work. I mean, we do work in emotional intelligence and stress management and change management, but we weave in a piece of play into everything we do because it helps to lubricate how we think. Right? So you're noticing your state now is relaxed and open. You made a choice to participate. You also made a choice to do what we call making your partners look great. So if you think for a minute about how you would have felt if you were the only person doing the response part of that, you might have felt really alone and isolated and embarrassed. But when we sort of do, okay, everybody else is doing this fun thing too, and we choose to participate fully, we actually elevate the people around us. Right? We elevate, oh, okay, great. I can make that person right in what they're doing right now. Right? And it didn't matter whether or not we got the sound right on the giving or the receiving end. It was really about making an active support move and saying, I'm going to make this person look great right now by doing their same silly noise that they just gave me. What else did you notice about them, Ellen?
Well, you know, it was an interesting thing. Once you got the groove going, you all just agreed to click in and the energy levels started rising, right? We let go of worrying about how we're looking, and we're just engaged in being here with each other. And because it's so easy to click out of these virtual meetings and just disappear into our cell phones. I personally have 2 screens behind me that I can see email coming in and notifications on my cell phone. How about anyone else distracted right now? Right, so it's kind of that decision to be where you are and also to engage with a level of play. And what Jenny alluded to is that your brain actually, it gives off different chemicals when you laugh and are energized than it does when you're focused and intense, right? So it's worth it to give your brain a break and allow you to actively choose being engaged at a different level, because it actually makes everything go more smoothly. It's kind of like that arriving in the room thing. You get out of the state that you're in to choose a different state. When you come back, you feel more refreshed and energized. Wonderful. And I see Johanna shared a file that we have. It's a handout for you that we're going to be using in just a moment in this session.
So Ellen, I think you have the slide that gives them a little bit more of a breakdown of what they were actually just doing.
Yep, I do.
So while you all may have thought you were just playing a simple game, here's something to notice, that here's what you were actually doing. So we wanted to have you do this. I'm not sure why this looks the way it does, but that's okay. My screen is doing something weird. Let me click. There we go. That's better. There were bunches of them for some reason. So what you were actually doing is that you were actually beginning with, you were accepting the offer. So in improvisation, we call everything making an offer. So you had to first recognize what was going on. You had to recognize what was occurring. So in the Zoom environment, and in the environment of this game, it meant you had to pay attention to what was coming at you. So you had to pay attention to, here's what's coming at me, and it's a hand motion like this, and it's a sound like blah, 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 blah. So you had to stop and tune into, I'm receiving some information right now. In improvisation, we call this an offer, where everything that somebody does with their stage partner is about an offer. Because if we make offers and we recognize them, if we recognize, oh, my partner just gave me an opening line, then I have something I can do with that. That's the same as regular dialogue. And then, Ellen, what do you think the next step is?
So the next step in this 4-step pattern, and you do have this in your handouts as well, is to accept that this is being offered to you. You're not necessarily agreeing with it. People make offers to you all day in terms of things that they say to you, ways they behave with you. But part of the key to managing the stress that comes with a constantly changing environment is just to accept that this is what is in this moment. I don't have to like it. I don't have to agree with it, but this is what is. We're playing this game. People are throwing things to me. I'm going to catch them, and we're going to keep going, right? And then, Jenny, what does it mean to seek value?
So when we're seeking value, it means that we're making use of what we have. I like to think of this as we begin at the beginning. We work with what we have, and we make use of it. A good friend of ours calls this creating with crap sometimes, which I think is hilarious. So we work with what we have, and we can create from there. We sometimes this value-seeking concept is a little difficult because we get handed things that we don't want. So, we all got handed this big inconvenient thing that, global pandemic, somebody, I didn't really want that. Nobody really wanted that.
Minor business.
Sometimes the offer.
I said, I'm sorry.
Sometimes what we have to receive is a thing that we don't like. So what that means for us is we still need to make use of it. We still need to find a way to value it. Whether we like it or not, we have to make use of it. So an example of that would be making use of a bad situation to build a better situation, which is our next step. So we're making a next step. So if we decide, and it's not about positivity either, it's about recognizing, here are the bricks that are on the ground. They may be in a pile, they may be in a mess. What can I make with this? And the good news is that humans are wired for this. We are wired for this level of creativity. We are absolutely built to make use of whatever is in front of us. Anybody that's ever made some sort of fabulous meal out of the nothing in their refrigerator has probably had this experience. I know I've done that. Has everybody else done that too? So that's our 4-step model, which is recognize, accept, seek value, and build. And that is in your handout in that order. So Ellen, I think we have another tool for them for today, right?
Well, we do, but we're going to do word at a time story first.
Okay.
But I also wanted to add that, if you're wondering, like, this sounds esoterically, this sounds great. But a perfect example of this is that on March 18th, the Boulder Company moved out of its corporate offices up in West Hartford, and we moved into home offices, knowing that 95% of our business was conducted in person, because we're an in-person training business. So we had to recognize what was in that situation, which was that the way that we had done business up to that point was no longer viable. And it didn't matter that we could spend a lot of time wishing that it were different, and it still wouldn't take us forward. And I will tell you that lots of training companies just literally shut their doors and stopped operating. Lots of them. Because they just said that, if we can't do it in person, we're not going to do it. So then we had to accept what was, and also accept that we had some shortfalls in terms of what we knew about facilitating online and how to take the content that we had developed and make that transition. But we saw the value in it, which was we had solid content. We made the decision to create everything in a virtual environment, and also to get value and input from existing clients to say, come try this with us and see how it lands for you and give us feedback. And now we're building. And now they're actually calling us and saying, can you do that virtually in the fall for us? And the answer, of course, is yes, because we have been working all along, because we started at the beginning, which was, here's the reality of where we are. And all of you are in different businesses that are in the same position, having to constantly accept a shifting landscape. And pining for what was does not advance our businesses, our thought, and it also drags us down. I know Wendy dealt last time with the energy of, thinking too much about what we had before, as opposed to focusing. And I know Johanna's very big on focusing on what comes next, right? So Jenny, do you want to do the circles of influence or the story? Because I'll drop it for story if that's what you want.
Yeah, now let's do the story.
All right. Everybody still got their numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do an exercise called Word at a Time Story. So take note of your number, because this matters, because we're going to go in order. And what we're going to do is, one word at a time, we're going to tell a story. And you are going to take your cue for what comes next from the person right before you. So, Jenny, do you want to start us?
I will start us. Reviews
Can
Excel.
Exponentially.
couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Exponentially.
Exponentially, okay.
Or
Or not.
what did you say?
Not. It's an
Or
or.
not? Now you've totally.
I know.
Kathy, I'll help you out a little bit. You can also use punctuation and just say period.
Oh,
And get out
I
of
like
it.
that, period.
Somebody else will start another sentence. All right, there you go. Rosie,
okay.
a word from you.
Oh, so I have to give a word now?
Rosie does, but we have to unmute.
Okay.
Flagrantly played.
We can't
You're
hear you.
muted, Sandra.
Played.
Around.
I muted. My.
The word was by.
My.
My.
Yes.
Home.
Okay, that was a good start.
Right?
All right, let's try another one. Once.
There.
Was.
A.
Wonderful.
Woman.
Running.
What was that word?
Running.
Running.
Woman.
Really. Wonderful.
Woman.
Period.
Really? Oh, that's
That did not make sense whatsoever.
No,
Yay! Total collapse. Total collapse. We love it when a story collapses. It just means more laughter. It just means more laughter. It's just an excuse to laugh, ladies. That's just the truth of the matter, right? So I love that you all just kind of went, and then seeing all these faces going, what? Because the audio was cutting out, and it's like, so this is part of what you're actually showing about the importance of this idea that we've put in front of you, which is to recognize what the offer is on the table, right? So the offer in this case was maybe a word that didn't entirely make sense, or maybe it was a word that I thought I heard one way, but might have been another. You know, so that the quote unquote offer, the thing that I was handed, was in all different kinds of shapes and sizes. The thing we were all handed was, oh, a story that's not quite coming together. And we all decided that's okay. We're going to accept it. We're going to accept it in its current state. We're going to work with what is, right? So we're looking at what is and going, so it's going a little sideways. That's okay. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to work with it, and I'm still going to build with it. I'm going to seek value in it. You showed, everybody just showed this beautiful sense of valuing this, even though the story went completely off the rails into something completely odd. It's okay that it didn't make sense. It's okay because what you did was you found value in it by making each other right. You found humor. Humor is a great way to seek value in something that we don't understand or that makes us uncomfortable. So you still built from it.
So one of the things that we can do with you to make it a little bit easier for the story to hang together is we can give you more words to use. So let's try a version of this story where you have 3 words. Hyphenated doesn't count. 3 words, okay? Jenny, do you want to start it?
Sure. I would also add, here's another little support move that we can make for each other in the telling of our story. So if you are far from your mic, lean into your mic a little bit more. Try to speak up and project loudly and clearly. That's another great way of taking care of your communication partners in this environment today, is to just speak up maybe a little more loudly than you might ordinarily be inclined to do, just so that we can all hear you. So the little girl
had a button
that fell off
her jacket sleeve.
Sharon.
And she missed.
having the button.
I couldn't quite hear you, Teresa.
Having the button.
Okay. So she went.
On a trip to Aruba.
She stole 5 words.
Princess.
Exclamation point. When she
got to Aruba,
she looked for
a new button.
Bring it home, Makana. Land the plane for us.
At a wonderful store. Or 4 words.
Yay!
All right. So wonderful job accepting offers. It's a little easier. I mean, when we think about translating this particular exercise into the world of work, how often do you get incomplete information from somebody and they're expecting you to take that information and go make it mean something, right? Sometimes it makes sense to give people more information so they can track with you. And so that was part of this, is noticing that when we have a few more words to express ourselves, or if we have a few more words to give to someone else, it's easier for them to accept from us and build on it. right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So another question for you. I'm wondering about if we're looking at this concept, how does this help us? The laughter part's pretty clear, right? But if we're looking at adapting to change and strengthening our resilience, how does this idea, this sort of workflow, how does this help us with that? What do you think?
Well, because you can't control what the next person's going to say, so you kind of adapt and accept that that's the way that it goes. I guess is my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you have to
So working with what is.
And you have to be creative.
Mm-hmm. So opening up to creativity, that can help us with resilience, right? How do we think creativity helps us with resilience? I think that's a really juicy question.
Because you find new ways to move forward during difficult times, being creatively and really looking outside the box, maybe in ways that you never would have thought before.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely looking outside the box, Johanna. I was thinking that.
Yeah. We've all done a lot of that lately, I think.
Yeah.
Did it help you in this exercise to think ahead?
No.
I didn't have a chance to. I was number 3.
I think so.
Well, you didn't know it was coming your way either, so you had to get the words.
Right.
The
So,
best
thank you, Kim.
context, I guess.
Exactly. So you had to respond just sort of in the moment of what was happening. Your listening had to be more finely attuned, and you had to be present right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, Johanna was talking before you folks came on about, people are already starting to think into the fall and planning for the fall, right? With schools, are they going to open or not? And there's a lot of mental headspace that all of this projecting into the unknown with no sense of control about what's going to happen in that future, right? Which causes people to shut down. It's the opposite of resilience. We wear ourselves down by spending a huge amount of time worrying about what might happen, right? So thinking about like what is in my immediate span of control, like what things can I make an impact on, or where we're going next in this conversation. And I know Johanna had posted in the chat, and hopefully you had a chance to click on that link, or you can just draw it out on a piece of paper next to your desk. This worksheet, which seems very simple, but let's walk you through a couple of examples. What we know about behavior, and I just touched on it a little bit, is the more time we spend on things that we can neither control or influence in terms of how much space they take up in our brain. So this is the worry about things that are entirely beyond our control, the less able we are to have agency in the present. Let's just say that again. The more time we spend worrying about what we can't control, the less agency we have in controlling and affecting how we feel in the moment.
So another way of looking at that comes to mind is what we mean by agency is our power, our ability, our capacity, and another consideration is if I'm expending my, if we have currencies of focus. We have the currency of time. We have the currency of emotion and energy. These are all forms of currency. So part of what I'm hearing inside your presentation of this as agency, Ellen, is that I can expend my currencies in one area and lose them in another, right? I'm losing my power because I'm expending my currencies in someplace else. So I'm expending, if I expend a lot of energy and a lot of concern, a lot of my focus and time on stuff that I have no ability to impact, like big giant global pandemic, then I might not leave enough energy for my own self or things that I can have a difference in. That's part of what I'm hearing.
Oh, definitely. You know, and on a personal level, how many of you have instances in your personal life where you've been very concerned over the last 3 months? Is that all of us? Right? So a perfect example, and I've used this in a couple of classes, is I have an 85-year-old mother who is literally saying, you know, I've lived 85 good years, I'm going to the grocery store.
Oh my gosh, that sounds just like my mother.
Yeah, yeah.
My neighbor says that the same thing. She's 80.
Yeah.
Husband's 80, and she's like, if I'm gonna go to Aldi's, I'm gonna go to Aldi's. She
Right.
puts it in the middle of there, but that's okay.
And it's maddening.
Mhm.
And to add mania to maddening is she wants to drive there, and that's not really a thing she should be doing. Right? It's a thing she should not. Just trust me when I tell you she should not be doing it, and she still owns a car. So the things I have control over are I can take her car and say, let me take it for an oil change, and I can have that take a week or more. Right? I can't control it if it's not in my driveway. If it is, I can, right? I can have influence by saying, you know what, with the cocktail of prescription drugs that you take, it's probably not a good idea to drive at all. And maybe we should have you evaluated by your doctor for that, right? But the thing that I can't worry about is she gonna act out and take the car and cause an accident, right? I have to work with the things that I can control or influence. So there's an example from a personal life, but I'm sure you have examples from your work life. So think of one specific area where you'd like to feel like you have more of a handle on it. More agency, as we described it. Another way of thinking of it is think of an area in your life where you'd like to have less stress. Right? Now, inside of that, what can you control for? What are the things that you know that you can do specifically that are within your span of control?
And one way to do this is if you have, I saw Sandra took out a piece of paper. So one way you could do this is actually take out take out a blank piece of paper and draw a big circle in the middle of the piece of paper and label it control and jot down all the things in there that you have control over. Right? We just obviously are making it this size so you can see it clearly on the slide.
Sorry.
Can I just build on that for a second? One of the things that I do is sometimes just a brain dump of everything that's in my head without trying to categorize it first. So like, what's everything, big, small, without judging it, just like blah, and get it all on a piece of paper first, and then go through the sorting process so that you're not trying to do two things at once, like filter and explore.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, yes to that. Those are actually two different activities because I do that exact same thing that you're describing, Princess Melissa. That I do the exact same thing where if I have to make room in my brain, I dump it all out onto paper and then I look at the areas and like, okay, where is the thing that I want to have more agency? Where do I want to have a little less stress out of all of this stuff that I just dumped out of my head? And then I'll run it through this gamut and I'll say, okay, what can I control or influence here, or what do I have absolutely no ability to influence or control? And it does. So I love that you pointed that out because it can be a great tool for helping you find priority as well.
One of the other things that is in your control, and I think it's something that women specifically leave off often, is I can ask for help. And I can say no. And I can try and enroll somebody else in doing this so that I don't have to add another thing to my plate. Right? That asking for help thing is such an issue with women who just like, yep, I'll do it. Yep, I got it. Yep, I got it. The curse of competence, you're good at it. They're going to give it to you every time. May not be your job anymore. Right? You have a certain way you want things to go out. And so that's another thing to notice is when you're keeping control of things that you could let go of, that would give you more of a sense of ease as well. That's also within your control. Right? We don't have to do everything all the time. And I don't know about you, but sometimes we program people into thinking that we're the only ones who can do certain things. And then guess what? We get to do them. Yay.
This also, I would add that this is a tool that is useful for really managing, issues in life that can be a pretty heavy lift. So, Ellen mentioned, in a tongue-in-cheek way about her mother. But of course, what we know is that, of course, she's really deeply concerned about her mother, right? We can talk about it with levity, but, it's her mom. So, of course, it's near and dear to her heart. So one of the things we like about this tool is it opens up ways for us to look at things that are a heavy lift and sometimes actually shine a light on where can I open up a little levity for myself, which it can change our experience of that area of life, right? So another example of this is I have a sister who is severely mentally disabled. She has a schizoaffective disorder. So when I look at control, influence, and concern, I have absolutely no ability to control anything about her illness. It's an affliction. I can't control that. And I really can't influence it either, because I can't influence whether or not she hears the radio talking to her, right? So what do I have control and influence over? My own response to that. That's where I can have control and influence. I can have control and influence in supporting my family, supporting my mom and dad, and how they manage some of the things that they still have to manage for her around that. Right. So so in walking myself through that tool in that one strip of life, I'm able to reclaim a lot of my energy because I no longer expend a lot of my emotional energy or focus currencies on things that I can't control. And we've found ways to make ourselves laugh about this. It's a very serious condition, but as with anything, humor can be the light in the darkness. So we encourage you to actually use this tool on parts of your life that are really hard, because you'd be amazed at what might open up for you. This is, I think, originally a Stephen Covey design that's been stolen and reiterated from 1,000,001 different ways. We've stolen it like an artist as well and made it our own. So steal it and make it your own. Have fun with it.
And use it to guide your teams. If your teams are feeling overwhelmed, because they're not sure how to prioritize all of what's coming in, help them to take things apart and prioritize and figure out what you can control, how you can support each other, rather than, anything that stays inside of your brain is it generally less efficient resolution than sharing that with other people and getting some input into it. And when you pair this tool with that whole conversation about accepting what is, instead of focusing on what we wish was, we start to see that they go hand in glove, right? That process of accepting the offer that's on the table and then building from there, as opposed to wishing for something that wasn't, gives us, once we've accepted that this is the is, now we can apply this whole conversation of circle of concern and start to say, this is where resilience comes from. I can create a plan for myself. I can manage this. I can ask for help, rather than being in the overwhelm of, I don't know what to do first or how to get support for the things that I'm in. That makes sense to everyone? And it's a practice. It's a practice because we're in highly volatile times right now. There's a lot of emotional charge. There's a lot of very emotional things going on, whether it's the social unrest, racial equality, the pandemic, police violence. I mean, there's just, they keep overlaying in a way that pings us constantly all day long if we focus on that. And still we need to function, right? With each other, in our lives, with our families, right? So what do you think of these tools? I'd love to hear back from you. We've been talking for a few minutes. How do you see using these tools in your world?
I think the mere just stepping back and, looking at those kind of grounds you and, makes you think, wait a minute, I can handle this because I can go step by step and get through this instead of just reacting immediately.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which point? Go ahead, Sharon.
Sorry. I think for me, it will help realize that that last one, that you only have concern, that there's nothing you can do about it. Like I have a hard time with that, with a couple things, personal and at work right now. So, and I've been trying to work on that about, there's nothing I can do about it. So I need to stop worrying about it or stop trying to fix it. So I think this tool will help me do that.
Great.
Mm-hmm. And I would add to that, Sharon, inside of this place where you're looking at, there's something I have absolutely no control over. One of the things that can come along with that moment of recognition of, I am completely powerless to do anything about this. It can feel disheartening. It can feel, heavy sometimes.
Right.
And so that's where it's a good place. So when you're looking at that spheres of influence tool, you can switch back over to that recognize, accept, seek value, build component. Like that's a great example that you just gave of where those two tools dovetail, because there's the heaviness of this thing that I cannot control. But then, all right, I recognize what it is. I recognize the nature of what it is. What is this thing that I'm dealing with? I see it for what it is. And then I accept that's the reality. And then my job is to seek value in it, right? Well, maybe I'll just pick on my own life for a second. Maybe the fact that I have this sister who has this really bad issue, right? Maybe part of where that I can seek value in that is in the fact that it makes me more wise and compassionate with other people who are dealing with severe disabilities in their lives, right? That's been a gift. So sometimes we want to seek the gift in a thing, right? And then build from there in one micro step. So thank you for that. That's super, super rich example. What else? How else will all these tools help us with resilience and adapting? Where else do you see these tools helping you along the journey that we're all in through 2020 and beyond?
I think when it comes to change and adapting, there's this powerful concept of choice, right? That you can be either a victim through all of this stuff, or you can have choices. And I think that all of this allows you to figure out how do you want to respond to it. For me, I think one of the most powerful rings is actually the influence, because you can influence it doesn't mean you should influence it. And so where do you want to spend your limited time, energy, power, passion, whatever it is? Sometimes it's almost harder to move those things you can influence into the span of concern and just let them go, because it's just not worth your limited time or energy. And so it becomes a filter of how do I want to spend my limited days, time, hours. And, sometimes influencing it is just tilting at windmills. It really is.
Yep. Love that idea.
And the social media Vortex is a perfect example of that. I don't know how many of you get sucked into social media on a regular basis, whether it's Facebook or Twitter. Instagram tends to be more upbeat, but not lately. How much time we spend on there consuming news from there and then responding and having conversations with people on there. It's fascinating, but it also is very activating for our monkey brain, for the part of our brain that is in fear, right? There are things pinging our fear reflexes all day long. So, noticing how much time you're spending focusing on things that cause upset, right? And making sure that there's some level of balance in your world, that you're also doing things that nourish and feed you, like laughter or meditation or yoga or any of those things, gives you an opportunity to have balance, to choose balance, right? I will call your attention to a quick survey that I added to the chat. I'll add it again. If you can just click on that before we end the session, and then you can fill that out at your leisure and send it back to us. We just always like to get feedback to figure out what it is we're saying that's resonating, where you felt the session was great, where you would have wanted more time or more information. And if you want to talk to us for any reason, just make it known on that form and we'll be happy to get back to you. And Johanna, we will turn it back to you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, you guys. It was great. This is our second in our session. Next, in 2 weeks, we'll have another session which will feature both Jenny and Ellen and also Wendy, who did our workshop about 2 weeks ago. So we're really excited about that. But, you know, for more information, please, we're looking for more people to get involved in our WLC. This is exactly what we do. We try to empower and help each other out, especially through difficult times. So I learned a lot today. Appreciate it, you guys. You had my wheels going with the control thing, though, because you know me, Ellen. So I was working out. That's a work in progress over here. But thank you all for joining. We do appreciate it. I hope you guys all have a safe and healthy day. And keep smiling around those squares, guys, and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.